Hey everybody, hope you guys are healthy and safe. So I have here the Nubia Z70 Ultra. Now this is a very interesting phone because Nubia is actually selling this in the US for $830 US. And for $830 US, you're getting a hell lot. In fact, you're getting tip-top flagship specs everywhere that, at least on paper, the specs outperform the S25 Ultra. And it's like, what, $500 less than what Samsung is offering. This guy is kind of like a Frankenstein monsters phone. It combines a bunch of different features. So you see that it has an overall shape very similar to the S25 Ultra. I mean, the phones are almost exactly the same in dimensions when you put them next to each other. And actually, before you say Nubia is copying Samsung, Nubia actually has been using this form factor for like 2 or 3 years now, before Samsung actually switched to this form factor. So if anything, Nubia did it first. But this back design, obviously very interesting. You have a painting. I believe this is from Vincent van Gogh. I think it looks colorful. I personally don't want my phone to attract this much attention from the back, but I think a lot of people may find this pretty stylish. And you have this very unique camera system right here. So you have a main camera, 50 megapixel, has a default 35mm focal length, which is good because I think most modern smartphones right now, the default focal length is like 23mm, which is a little bit too wide and it's like an awkward focal length. So this shoots at 35mm by default. It also has a variable aperture of between f1.6 and f4. That means there's a physical shutter blades in there that will open and close to control how much lighting you take in and also change how much natural bokeh you get too. There's also a 64 megapixel 70mm periscope zoom lens here, and you also have an ultra wide camera here that appears to be built on a miniature gimbal technology like the Vivo phones, because if you move the phone you can see the ultra wide camera kind of float. And this ultra wide lens also has a super wide field of view of 13mm, so wider than most other phones too, which tend to be 14 or 15mm. And finally, you have this little fill light right here, which appears to be taken from the Vivo V series. So you see, this is like a phone that takes the best elements from all the major phones. You have a shape like a Galaxy S25 Ultra. You have a variable aperture like Xiaomi and Huawei's flagship. You have a periscope zoom lens, and then you have a gimbal camera like in Vivo, and you have a fill light like Vivo's V series. And around the front, you also have a 16 megapixel selfie camera, but it is completely invisible. It's underneath the screen. So if you look at it right now, you cannot see the hole punch at all. So you see, when I swipe out the camera app, you see the hole briefly before it then disappears. You also have a gigantic battery in here, 6,150 milliamp hours. So this is the largest battery that I've tested in a normal phone, because there are phones with bigger batteries like those rugged phones, but in terms of normal phones, this is the largest battery I've seen yet, and battery life has been really damn good. The cameras, as I mentioned, this is a very unique system, and I think the main camera is actually really good. You can see here the colors, they pop a lot. There's a very contrastic vibe to the camera. Now, not everybody's gonna like the colors. I think they're a little bit exaggerated, but I actually like it. I think it looks very good. As for the periscope zoom lens, it's also pretty good. As you can see here, low light zoom looks pretty good. 70mm, you get a little bit natural bokeh, and even in low light performance, it does pretty well. The ultra wide, however, really suffers in low light conditions. It's very soft on the edges. And if you shoot during the day with good lighting, this ultra wide camera is more than good enough. You have a physical shutter button here that if I press halfway, it will bring up a focus bracket and tell you where it's focusing. And then you have a zoom lens. So interestingly, you know how I said earlier the zoom lens is 70mm focal length, but in the camera UI it actually says 85mm because Nubia has not updated the UI yet. 85mm was the last phone. So now if you tap here, it will still go into 85mm, but this is a digital crop now. If you want true optical zoom, you have to tap to go back out to 70mm. So the UI is a little bit unfocused like that, but you do get very nice natural bokeh and good details on the 3x shot. As you can see, the camera UI is also very complicated. There's like a lot of different modes, and it kind of sums up this phone's UI. This guy runs Android 15, but Nubia's UI, it's a little bit complicated and overly convoluted. It's very unpolished. It reminds me of like a Vivo UI from like maybe 5 or 6 years ago. Like for example, if you jump into the menu, there's like a lot of stuff you have to cycle through. If you jump into features, look at how many things you have to choose from, and it's overwhelming. And some of the translation, it's a little bit off, and also a little bit of Chinglish, like quickly launch the camera by camera key. Like that's, you know, grammatically it's not incorrect, but that's not native English, so it's not the most polished UI. But for the most part, it doesn't get into the way of Android. Like most of the things that you expect to do from an Android phone, you get here. Like an app tray, you have a notification panel and shade that it's in one pane, which I really like, because I don't like this new trend of Android phones that split the notification shade into two different panes, like what Samsung's doing and what a lot of other Chinese phones do. So I don't like that. But this UI, a little bit complicated, a little bit rough around the edges, but it does get the job done. And the animation's buttery smooth. And also powering the phone's a Snapdragon 8 Elite flagship chip, so it definitely performs as well as you would expect. So yeah, this is the Nubia Z70 Ultra in a nutshell. I do think the image processing, the main camera's good, but the other lenses fall behind definitely the more bigger name phones from Oppo, Xiaomi, or Vivo. But for what it is, I think it's quite good. And for $830, I think this is worth a look. Particularly if you're in the US, you don't have a lot of other options. This is a great value proposition. It's like $500 cheaper than the Galaxy S25 Ultra, but has a larger battery and arguably a more unique design and cameras that zig where others zag. Because everybody's kind of going this one direction right now, and Nubia is saying, nah, we're going to do it this way. And I do like the 35mm focal length. I have a lot more content coming, so please stay tuned to my channel. Like, it's a very busy month. So that's it for now. Thanks for watching.